1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
The Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true. All of it.
One of resistance.
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
Rebellion.
Rebellion is built on hope.
And redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you. Always.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Star Wars Reactions. We are here. We're going to have a great night. Lots of things to discuss. And we're happy that you are joining us again. I am one of your hosts. I am Aaron Harris. And joining me, I tell you, he's the Mandalorian to meet my baby Yoda. He is the David Motters. David, my friend, how's it going?
It is going. I am ready to react as always. And I love that description, Mando to Baby Yoda. That is you and me, and we make quite the team. The clan of two.
The clan of two we are. I guess the politically correct term would have been the child, not Baby Yoda.
Well, no, that's true, but there's a big push for a lot of Star Wars fans. They're like, it's Baby Yoda, it's Baby Yoda. So
I'll tell you what, though, my friend, you know him, Robbie, my friend Robbie.
Yeah.
I mentioned one time that I had named as a joke that the child's name was Adoy, which is Yoda spelled backwards, Adoy, Adoy, and that's all his kids will call him now.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, that's all they call him. Matter of fact, his middle son had a birthday. Just a couple weeks ago, and it was all Mandalorian themed. He's huge in the Mandalorian, and which is awesome. I love it. And he's like, "Look at my Adoy."
Oh my god!
And I was the only one that knew what he was talking about. And I was like, "Yes." And every time he says it, Robbie shudders, and I just grin ear to ear.
You came up with that a long time ago.
Oh yeah, that was. Last year when season 1 premiered, it was like a couple episodes into season 1.
Yeah.
I started calling him Adoy because it was everybody was calling him the child, and everybody was calling, well, let me rephrase that. Everybody was calling him Baby Yoda. Lucasfilm and Disney were calling him the child. We had no name, so I named him Adoy.
Yes, I liked it. I liked it then. I like it now.
And I have 5 Adoys staring at me right now, to be honest. 1 pop, 2 minifigures, the Black Series, and the Mission Fleet one. They're all sitting here just staring at me.
Nice.
As long as they don't start doing the little hand thingy, I'm fine.
Do the little hand thingy.
Oh, well, we got a lot to talk about this week. I know we were supposed to record last week. Things did not. Actually, was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
No, last week.
Last week, okay. Yeah, we were supposed to record last week, but things didn't work out. I had family in town. My parents were visiting, which was awesome. I hadn't seen them in a little over a year, so it was good to see them. But when my parents come to town, my youngest sleeps in my office, so I had nowhere to record. So we had to unfortunately postpone a week, but here we are, and it's actually will work out fine because we're recording this Tuesday, the 27th of October, so this will be released on the 28th. So we are just literally days away from season 2 of Star Wars: The Mandalorian. Whoo-wee. Are you ready for that?
I don't know if people are. I think we all want to think we are, but I think we're going to be blown away again Friday night.
Absolutely. It is going to be incredible. I'm so looking forward to this. and we'll talk more about it later in the show. But I mean, it premieres this Friday. I'm stoked. I'm excited. This is going to be great. We are, just so you know, we have been doing bi-weekly, but with this, we will be going to a weekly format for this series, so we can review each episode as they come out. So we do record normally on Tuesday nights, so it premieres on a Friday. So you have time to watch it through the weekend. Send us your thoughts and let us know what you think of the episode. And of course, we'll share your thoughts when we review it too. So that is going to be a lot of fun. You'll be seeing a lot more of us in the upcoming weeks. Merry Christmas early. That is what's planned here. But we got a lot of news that has broke over the last few weeks that we need to jump into. And there's been a lot of news, but for time's sake, we are going to try to limit it a little bit. And we've got a lot of news on the upcoming book, A Certain Point of View, The Empire Strikes Back. I'm really looking forward to this book. I don't know about you, David. This is going to be a ton of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a blast to read. But we've had a lot of information. Of course, I think the last time we recorded, we were discussing the authors who have been announced, which is awesome. Yeah. But we actually have gotten some more information, not only about the book itself and the authors, but we found out about what stories they're going to be telling. And if you are a fan of audiobooks, which I am a newly converted audiobook fanatic, we got a cast list of who is going to be reading these stories for the audiobook that will be released as well. This is going to be great. So, let's run through this list of we'll start with who's reading the book first, or who's doing the books first. Then we will go through, and I'll highlight some of the stories. So for the audiobook, we have John Hamm, who's, of course, an actor from the hit series Mad Men. He'll be returning apparently he'll be doing his second Star Wars audiobook, reading the part of Boba Fett in the story. His story will be called Wait For It, written by Zoraida Cordova. And then Emily Wu Zeller. Of course, if you recognize that name, you probably listened to the Dr. Aphra audiobook, because she played Dr. Aphra, and she will be joining the cast as well, along with Dion Graham, Jonathan Davis, Sean Keenan Elias Reyes, January Lavoie, Soneta Nankani, the extremely talented and very popular when it comes to the audiobooks, Mark Thompson. Can't have a Star Wars audiobook without Mark Thompson. And, of course, Maul himself, Sam Witwer, will be reading the story. That is the cast of the audiobook. What do you think of that cast, David?
Oh, I love it. Like you and I've said, we've recently really jumped into these audiobooks. I just finished Star Wars, The Clone Wars, Stories of Light and Dark, and you were kind of prepping me up about the one on Kenobi and Satine, and you said it just wrecked you. And as soon as I listened to it, I'm like, yup, that's why it wrecked Aaron, because it wrecked me. But to hear James Arnold Taylor do that, read that particular chapter in the book was outstanding. And Sam Witwer was on that one. So to hear him as part of this, I've always enjoyed Mark Thompson in these things. Emily Wu Zeller, loved her as Aphra in that audiobook. So I've really been making the switch over. And so I'm going to do that here with from a certain point of view, The Empire Strikes Back. So absolutely gonna get this thing on audiobook.
Oh, definitely. I will be getting it on audiobook. Well, I actually already have it pre-ordered on the audiobook. So as soon as it releases, it will download and I can start listening immediately. It's going to be fun. And there's a lot of great stories in here. I know Lucasfilm and everybody in Del Rey did a whole tweet back on October 6th. It is literally what would classify as a tweet storm. This is what it was.
Yeah.
Where they went through and they literally listed the name of each story, a quote from the story, and the author of the story. Now, that's a lot of information to go through, so I'm not going to read every quote, but just to give you an idea of the authors and the stories. Tom Engelberger will be writing The Wills Strike Back. Lydia Kang, Right Hand Man. Ann Toole, The Backup Plan. Alexander Freed wrote The Man Who Built Cloud City. Adam Christopher, The Witness. Into the Clouds by Karen Strong. Now this is the one this is one of the ones I'm really interested in right here. This one's called Dew on Batu, written by Rob Hart. This one, if you look at the slide they put up, the ice cream maker is sitting dead center of it. And the quote the quote, this is a story about Wilro Hood, dude.
Right.
So the quote, I have to read it. When Wilro Hood came alongside the trio, he yanked the Kamatano away from her, feeling a flood of relief having it in his his hands on the metal container again. He nodded to the troopers. She's Rebel Alliance, and she stole my property, and I'm taking it back.
That's funny.
It's great. It's great. Another one that I'm interested in too, and they actually released on Disney.com, StarWars.com, a sample of this story. It's like a preview of this story. Excerpt. That's the word I was looking for, not sample. An excerpt of this story. This one's called Faith in an Old Friend by Brittany N. Williams. This one is about L337. And here's the quote: L337 would have shrugged here if it had been the old days, the days before she had been uploaded into the Falcon and had become one of the 3 droid brains that made up the ship's computer. She built herself such good shoulders too. So L3's coming back.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So more of them. Martha Wells has written Bespin Escape. Austin Weller, No Time for Poetry. This one's about bounty hunters. Looks like IG-88 and what's his name? Dengar.
Yeah.
Beyond the Clouds by Lillian Rivera. S.A. Chakrabarti wrote, But What Does He Eat? Then Calvin Scott, Fake It Till You Make It. Mackenzie Lee, There Is Always Another. Christy Golden, The Truest Duty. Sarwat Chada, Standard Imperial Procedure. Wait for It by Zoraida Cordova. Stet, S-T-E-T, by Daniel Jose Older. Again, bounty hunters. Themed one. Tooth and Claw by Michael Kogi. This one's about Bosk. Vengeance by Tracy Dion. Lord Vader Will See You Now by John Jackson Miller. Now this is cool because this is about Ray Sloan.
Oh.
So they're tying Ray Sloan into Empire Strikes Back. So I can't wait to read that one.
That is interesting.
And John Jackson Miller writing it, it's going to be good.
Oh, yeah, he's incredible.
He is. Next one, Catherine M. Valente. This is No Cave. Mike Chen wrote Disturbance. The First Lesson, written by Jim Zub. We have, where is it? Amara Kell's Rules for TIE Pilot Survival, probably, by Django Wexler. That just sounds like a fun title. Seth Dickinson wrote one called The Final Order. Rendezvous Point, written by Jason Fry. It's going to be about Wedge Antilles. Beth Revis, For the Last Time. Katie Cook, The Dragon Snake Saves R2-D2. Hank Green writes A Naturalist on Hoth. Here we go. Beyond Hope by Michael Moreshi. R.F. Kwong, Against All Odds. Charles Yu, Kendall. Gary Witta, Rogue 2. Emily Skrutsky, Ion Control. Amy Ratcliffe, Heroes of the Rebellion. Of course, Amy Ratcliffe, friend of ours, we love Amy, so we're excited for her on this one. I'm looking forward to hers. Delilah S. Dawson, She Will Keep Them Warm. C.B. Lee, A Good Kiss. Mark Oshiro, Hunger. And last but not least, Kirsten White, Eyes of the Empire. So, what do you think of this book and these stories coming out on November 10th?
Yeah, I was going to say, as you were reading off all the names, I was going to wait. Yeah, I think for me, just like you mentioned, Amy Ratcliffe, I was really excited for her. She's putting out a lot of stuff here coming up, and so for her to get one, I was really happy for her. So I'm looking forward to that. Jason Fry, love his stuff. Got to meet him at Star Wars Weekends when you were signed my Clone Wars episode guide back then.
Yep.
Tom Engelberger doing the Wills. He did one on the Wills in the first one from a certain point of view, A New Hope. So it'll be interesting to see what he does there. And I was trying to think. Daniel Jose Older. Looking forward to what his is too. So just some of the ones. It'll be, there's a lot of names I don't recognize. It'll be interesting to see how they write Star Wars.
It will be. It's going to be fun. And we're not far away from that. That's November 10th. That's being released. So if you haven't ordered it yet, get it pre-ordered and get it delivered or pick it up at your local bookstore. I know it's going to be fun. So more book news. We did get some information on the High Republic where they revealed the names of the Padawans. And I'm moving the wrong mouse. There we go. So that is pretty cool. Get a glimpse of some of the Padawans that the Jedis are training in this book. Let's see here. One is named Bel Zettifar and is apprenticed to the legendary Loden Greatstorm.
No.
There's a Wookiee, Buriaga, which is cool. So, Lula Talisola will be another one. And Riath Silas is another. So these are good looking. These are some of the Padawans we'll be seeing. Some will be in comics, some will be in books. So it's going to be pretty cool. They have beautiful artwork. I tell you, the artwork they're doing to promote the High Republic is absolutely stunning. I am loving it.
Yeah.
And these characters are well articulated. I tell you, I'm really impressed by the Wookiee. The Wookiee. I love the Wookiee.
Yeah. Buryaga. It looks like Burryaga. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Reese, Lula, Solo, like your Cali Solo or whatever, and then the Vel Zettifar. And so, yeah, I love scrolling through it. I've tried to read each article that Dan Brooks has put. He's put them up periodically, and I have I know they didn't want to do it originally, but it coming out in January has actually helped me to stay up to date on it, and at the same time kind of get caught up on some other stuff I wanted to get done and consume. And with starting in January, Mandalorian season 2 will be done. Right at the end of December, so this will be nice to all these characters.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be great. So the first one, like I said, comes out in January. So again, I mean, we're already at the end of October. So again, that'll be here before we know it. So looking forward to the High Republic. Another book news, just a special shout out. The Star Wars book is what it's called. The Star Wars book has been released. This, of course, is just an encyclopedia of just vast Star Wars knowledge, written by 3 great guys: Pablo Hidalgo, Cole Horton, and our buddy Dan Zier. Pick that up now wherever you do get books. It is just awesome to flip through, read. I am loving going through this. My buddy Chopper here sitting on my desk found his favorite spot, and of course it's all about Chopper. And the Ghost Crew. So of course he's going to find that and love that. But it's a tremendous book. It's it's great for reference material. If you're just wanting to learn and gain just more knowledge about the universe outside of the books and outside of movies and stuff, this is a great way to do that. And it's got great stuff in there too that's not necessarily in the movies or in the shows, like Obi-Wan Kenobi's home world.
Yes, people need to look at that, don't they?
Yes, they do. And that was kind of brought up at Celebration, and it kind of just stuck. So this is stuff from all over the place that you can get, all canon. So check it out. It is great fun. So there. So moving on from book news, we got still a couple more pieces of news. Mando Mondays have started. They started this past Monday, where they're releasing a whole bunch of new merchandise. They'll be announcing them on Mondays. Pops. They announced some vintage collections, pieces that are coming out, some of which I've already ordered. They finally showed the final version of the new HasLab Razor Crest, painted and everything. And I thought I was having a struggle not trying to decide whether to buy it before. I am struggling even more now, trying to convince myself that I don't need to convince my wife that I need it.
Right. Oh my God! Yeah,
the thing is huge. It's 30 inches long, dude.
I know that's one of the things with the first one they did with Jabba Sail Barge, and with this is I've heard a number of people say they want it, but they just don't know where to put it. Because all of us Star Wars fans already have a ton of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I was talking to my real life everyday job boss, my supervisor at my everyday job, and we were talking about it. Like, it's a good thing that the company gave us laptops because, if I get it, it's going to sit on my desk where my computer would have been. My laptop will just sit in my lap from now on if I get this thing. So it's Oh, it's beautiful. Check that out, man. If y'all haven't seen this thing, check it out. They are taking orders for a little bit longer, and it's I think the ticket price on the pre-order was like $350, something like that. So really cool to look at. So check out the Mando Monday stuff, and be on the lookout for more Mando Mondays coming out. More stuff gets announced as time goes on. The last piece of news coming up on the 17th of November. Again, just around the corner. 17th of November, exclusively on Disney Plus, we are getting a brand new Star Wars holiday special.
I love this.
I could tell you this, and I'm gonna put this out there right now. I never thought those words would leave my lips ever again.
I know. I want to know what George Lucas thinks about this. Obviously, he doesn't own it anymore, but I just wonder if he's just like dying.
I tell you, man, it's a Lego special, Lego Star Wars Holiday Special. Of course, this is, from what I understand and what I've been reading up on this, takes place after Episode 9, after Rise of Skywalker. Rey is still working on her Jedi, gone back to her Jedi training, and everything is peaceful in the galaxy, I assume. But it's Poe, Rey, Rose will be back, Rose Tico. So it's going to be really cool, and a lot of the characters are coming back. It's going to be fun. Chewie, and I just want to know if Chewie's family is going to be in it.
Right, exactly.
So, and what's cool is too, I like the fact that it ties directly in almost to the Advent calendar, the Lego Advent calendar that they've released for this year, because the sweater, the holiday sweater Poe Dameron's wearing, is the same sweater he's wearing on the minifigure in the Advent calendar. The green sweater with the BB-8 in the middle of it, and Dio in a Christmas hat, and it looks really, really cool. So you'll want to make sure on the 17th of November you check that out. I know I will. Will you be checking it out, David?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, if you remember when a few weeks back I sent you a little picture, right, of that promotional poster.
Yep.
It has Luke's hand and a bow on, and it says "From Dad to Luke."
Yeah.
That was funny. So yeah, I'd seen that and sent it over. Sometimes you see stuff and you send it over to me, whether it's a picture or a video or whatever. And if I see something, I try to get it over to you. And you and I had a good laugh with that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this on the 17th. It's going to be a multiple watch show. So I've had fun with those other ones. And Lego Star Wars is, like, I've heard many other podcasts talk about this, and Star Wars fans that I respect talk about Lego. They're able to play in that almost canon adjacent area where they can just have a lot of fun. So I really enjoy it. And so, yeah, it's getting watched on the 17th. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. Maybe something we'll have to do a special on to review at some point too. So we'll plan that out and let you know accordingly. So last bit of news, and this is more personal news for me and David, because I don't know if David remember, was it earlier this year, late last year, when we had a discussion about Willow and me never seeing it.
Oh, it was sacrilegious.
Yeah, and I finally watched it, and I've been beating myself up ever since for not watching it sooner.
Yeah.
Well, Lucasfilm gods are smiling at me because they've also announced they're doing a Willow show. There's a series in development with Willow, and they're bringing back, oh gosh, Wicket. Warwick Davis, yeah. No, they're bringing back Warwick Davis for it. I mean, this is, I'm loving the idea of this. After just now seeing the movie recently, I'm excited. I still can't believe I waited so long to watch that movie.
Yeah, it is really fun, and it's really good to see Ron Howard on as executive producer for this.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be great to see. So, all right. Well, with that, that wraps up all of our news for this episode. Our next, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be discussing Episode 7 of Star Wars Gallery. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Aaron and David here, and we are discussing Disney's Gallery, Star Wars The Mandalorian. We are discussing Episode 7 this week, The Score, or Score as it's called, which, of course, if you're not familiar with this series, this is, of course, a behind-the-scenes 8-episode docu-series or documentary series, however you want to call it, looking at what happened behind the scenes as they went through making the hit first season. It was a massive hit first season of The Mandalorian. Now we're all the way up to episode 7. Episode 7 was discussing the score, Ludwig Göransson's, of course, the composer, and his creative process for the score. It's well established, David, that first thing I listen to when I go to the movies, and we've discussed this multiple times, even when we saw Rise of Skywalker. First thing that always jumps out at me is the music. If the music isn't good, I'm not going to be into the movie.
Oh,
and
well, yeah,
that's my personality. Sometimes I will have to watch a movie a couple times before I can give you a true thought on a story on the movie, because usually the first time in, I'm listening to the music.
Well, and I'm glad you do that. Like you and I have been recording for many years now, and what you made me just think about there, Aaron, was, when we were recording episodes on Rebels reactions, and how, you really listened into Kevin Kiner's score there, and of course, just loving all that work that he did there. And I think, for me, I've always loved the music. I'm not as much of a music buff because I don't have, well, we talk a little psychology, like there's different types of IQs. There's a straightforward IQ intellectual quotient, but then there's kinesthetic IQ, like professional athletes have very high kinesthetic IQ. In this case, you think of musical IQ. You think about people like Yo-Yo Ma and some of these just staggeringly brilliant people, John Williams, right? They're just musical geniuses. There's artistic IQ, and then there's emotional intelligence as well. But even though I don't have high IQ for music, it doesn't mean I can't enjoy it. And this particular episode that really focused in on the music with Ludwig Göransson was just excellent, and I'm so glad they did these, and they did a whole episode here on him and this music. It's so good.
Oh, absolutely, and it's. I mean, I will be the first to tell you I know nothing about music. I can't read music. I can't play an instrument. I'm music illiterate, but I love music and I love soundtracks. I love it. And when I sat down and watched the first episode of The Mandalorian, one of the first things that jumped out to me was the music. It was so different than what we were used to in Star Wars, but at the same time, it was drawing you into the story. And that's what it's supposed to do. And Ludwig just did an incredible job bringing in the most unique sounds in his music for this. and I loved it. I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the dude is playing a recorder.
Yeah.
And of course now when I go back and listen to it when I watch the show, I could hear it, but I never picked up that was a stinking recorder.
Wow. And
Like,
that became the intro to The Mandalorian, like he said. I remember having a recorder back in middle school, you know. But, of course, listening to him play it is just like, holy crow. I mean, I even, in the notes here, I purposely wrote this down, that it ends up, like Ludwig said, it's soulful, it's intimate, it's childlike. Um, it's just he started with that. He started with a recorder and then went to other instruments after that. And the guys, you can tell he's a genius. And he has a through line through the whole thing. And for me now, it's interesting because like when I think about all the episodes, and on Friday night I was back watching episodes 7 and 8, and I just again hearing the music, I'm like, yeah, no, of course it's that. It can't be anything else, And when you get to that point, you're like, wow, it just totally matches up. And it'd be interesting to know, like, when Favreau and Filoni are listening to it, did he try some other stuff and they didn't like it, but then they finally, agreed on that sound. But like we know from this particular episode 7, score, Favreau really first and foremost liked Ludwig's wide musical interest, and like Favreau says, they wanted it to sound like Star Wars, but a bit dystopic too, right? A little bit of that, not super happy, but kind of a little bit more dystopic, a little bit more down kind of thing. But he hits it, and I love the sound. It's really cool.
oh, absolutely, it is very cool. It's very awesome, and it had a classic. The whole sound he created for the music had a very classic, yet Western feel to it. I mean, it was almost. You watch it, Mandalorian, you see the Mandalorian walk through, but I could also close my eyes, listen to the music, and picture Clint Eastwood walking through the doors of a saloon. I mean, it had that feel to it, which set the tone really for the entire series.
Yeah, I loved what you said because I agree with you. I've seen, a lot of Clint Eastwood stuff, and you absolutely could. The sound that Ludwig got was has the Western vibe to it, and it's just it hits it. It does what you want it to do. Even Ludwig says, I wrote down a number of quotes. He says, like musical, what does it mean to follow this guy the whole time? And then Ludwig even comments that, something that you hear Favreau say, or even, when the directors in previous episodes that you and I've recorded, how do you show emotions when you don't show a person's face? And Ludwig is trying to help with that. And even like I can hear, Deborah Chow right now during one of the previous episodes of this docu-series, her talking about that as well, the head tilts and so on. But add Ludwig's music, and you've got the emotions that you want to pull you in.
Oh, absolutely, and he fit perfectly into the role to write this stuff for the Mandalorian and draw everybody in. I think when you go through it, Favreau said it the best. The biggest thing about Star Wars is its music.
Yeah.
And it's 100% absolutely true. What some of the most recognizable pieces of music out there, the Star Wars theme, the Imperial March. I mean, these are anchors in in just music in general. But when it comes, I mean, you look at Star Wars all around, its music has been a prime focus, not just the movies with John Williams. And I am so blanking on Rogue One's composer right now. Giacchino, Michael Giacchino.
Nice.
Who did a fantastic job on that one. And before I get called out on it, I'm going to admit, when I first watched Rogue One in the theater, I walked out hating the movie because I did not like the soundtrack. Because I could not enjoy the movie because the soundtrack was so different than what I was used to for a Star Wars movie. I did not enjoy the movie. And I had to go back and actually watch it a second time and not listen to the music and actually watch this movie. And I loved the movie. And it took literally tons of research on the soundtrack and just repeated listening of the soundtrack. And it's now one of my favorite soundtracks from the movies. So I listen to it more than I listen to probably any of the others. So my mind can change. But so that's out there. So somebody tell my wife I'm allowed to change my mind. But
well, you know, Giacchino, I remember hearing the background on Giacchino, I think I'm butchering his last name, but he had a very short period of time to create that as well.
He was rushed.
You know, right?
He got rushed on that film, and it was, and for you could tell, and I think that's what bothered me for the longest time is you can tell what pieces were rushed and what pieces weren't. And honestly, I think if he would have had more time, the intro would not have been as different for a Star Wars movie than with that random boom.
Right, that boom, yeah. Well, and when I think about that for a movie, of course, I was just, you know what, when you were mentioning who did Rogue One, I was thinking John Powell, but he did Solo. Right. And so then, you know, looking at, again, the notes, I wanted to mention this. It's why you and I do show notes, because I want to hit some of these things. And, like, I wanted to piggyback on what you said. Like, when you think about the time needed to score a major motion picture, something that Ludwig said was that he felt like this was literally like scoring 3 feature films. Because of, 8 episodes, all of them are 30 to 40 minutes. And I guess I should sit down and just, look at the minute and add it up over 8 episodes and, how many hours of coverage he had to do. And he does say that he had a through line, which the Mandalorian theme ties it all together. But he says, he wanted, that through line because there's different episodes, they're on different planets, and he has different themes in the different episodes, but ultimately he always comes back and ties it together with that Mandalorian theme. And I do think, like you said there, Giacchino, how far do you go away from something? How close do you stay? That's always a challenge. And even Filoni said it, that the challenges were all over the place for this because of expectations. And he said it's important to keep sight on George Lucas's views on Star Wars being an adventure for young kids. And with the music, he says, we did take a chance to make it different, but we honored the past. But I love what Filoni says. It's a very fine line. And I think about that when you were talking about Michael Giacchino and how do you have your own sound. It's a fine line. Make it too different, then it throws us out like it did there. It was a little jarring, or very jarring for some people at the very beginning of Rogue One. But at least with Mandalorian, I felt like it hit the Western vibes, but also, like Filoni says, it honored Star Wars, and it has that. It fits right in perfectly with Star Wars. So Ludwig made to do that, and he's very praising of Williams, and he even said he hopes to get kids excited, like John Williams, like all of John Williams' music did for him. And it's cool to hear him say he wants to continue that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think what made Ludwig's music for this score for this season so successful is the fact that, like the show, it was different and new.
Mm.
We haven't seen anything like the Mandalorian before. I mean, with the difference between what Ludwig did and what Giacchino did, is we had seen up to that point 7 Star Wars movies, all composed by John Williams.
Yeah.
So there was a standard for music for the movies that he had to live up to, that Giacchino had to live up to. And he did his thing, and he did a phenomenal job scoring that movie. But it's not like the other movies.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
So that's where the disconnect started. With Ludwig, we have never had a live action Star Wars show like this ever before.
Right. Right.
I mean, I wouldn't even go. Well, okay. Before I get yelled at again, I do not count uh, uh, the. I mean, those were more movies at that point. The 2 Ewok movies that they made.
Right.
They're more like made for TV movies. I'm not counting those, but we have never had a live action show like this for Star Wars.
No,
And especially set in a
time.
time.
I don't count those either.
I mean, especially set in a time where it's an unexplored area of the timeline. It has nothing to do with the Skywalker saga or anything else. So it's literally a blank slate story in a brand new format we had not seen before. So because we were getting something so different, his different style of music fit perfectly. So it wasn't something people could people were going to have a hard time objecting to, because difference. I mean, the whole thing was new and different, in my opinion, and it's what made his score work so perfectly in this series.
Well, it'd be interesting, Aaron, in the years to come, when there's more Star Wars live action TV shows, will we be comparing the scores to Ludwig's, just like people do to John Williams? Well, it's not quite like Ludwig's in The Mandalorian. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm not doing that in the years to come.
Well, I mean, we got them coming too. We got the Kenobi show coming. We got the Cassian Andor series coming. So we're gonna find out here in the next couple of years what that's going to look like.
That's right.
So it'll be interesting to see how it measures up. Ludwig has had the honor of literally setting the bar for live action shows when it comes to the scores, and he set the bar up pretty high after that first season.
Oh my gosh, absolutely! And they scored it, and they showed footage of that, bringing the orchestra in. You put that orchestra on his music, and like you said, that bar is right up there.
Absolutely, it sure is. So, all right. So, any other thoughts on the score?
No. Looking forward to see if the new little things and nuances he puts into these 8 episodes coming up for season 2. But looking forward to it.
Absolutely perfect. So that pretty much will close out our discussion on the score. We'll take another quick break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Aaron and David here. We just closed out episode 7, the score, and we are going straight into the final episode of Disney Gallery, episode 8, Connections. This was just a flat out, all around fun episode for me. I really enjoyed this episode because literally everything that you picked, we would pick out when we were watching the show. They were going over. I mean, all the little Easter eggs and stuff, making the connections. It was great. I enjoyed. What were your thoughts when you first saw this episode?
Well, it's what you and I have heard other people say that it's a love letter to Star Wars fans, and like you said, I do love that they finished these 8 episodes of this docu-series, really going back over all of the connections to previous Star Wars movies and Star Wars canon and so on and so forth. And so, yeah, it was just so fun. And I tried to, type up as many as I could here for you and I to list off for listeners. And I'm sure they picked up on a lot of them, but it was just me just sitting there with one of the biggest smiles on my face, watching Favreau and Filoni talk about all of the all of the connections over the years. Even towards the end of my notes here, even Taika Waititi just being blown away by the 501st members. So there's so much for us to list here, and I don't know. How do you want to do it? You want to just start listing off some of the stuff?
Yeah, let's just start going through it, my man, and see what we got and go through. I'll tell you this: there was one thing that they talked about that I didn't. That I learned something new when they were talking about the ATST from the what episode? I think episode was Sanctuary.
Yes, Sanctuary.
Sanctuary episode, chapter 4, Sanctuary. The ATST. They were talking about the history of the ATST and everything from Return of the Jedi. I didn't realize that the little walker that we see in Empire Strikes Back that comes running up between all the AT-ATs, I just assumed that was another ATST. But apparently it's not. It's a different vehicle.
Yeah. Well, you hear John Knoll talking about it.
Exactly. I mean, that's how I learned something new when I was watching this particular episode. John Knoll's talking about, oh yeah, that's a chicken walker. That's not an ATST. I'm going to say what?
Well, it's cool because they show it. They show that little chicken walker on Hoth, and George liked it, so they left it in there. But in Return of the Jedi, you look at it and it's beefed up. It's a stronger version. When you see the Ewoks trying to take them down.
It's a chicken walker on steroids.
Exactly. Yes.
It's what it was. But yeah, I found to me that's the first thing that jumped. That's one of the things that jumped out to me because I learned something new. Because I didn't realize that. David, how about you? What was one of your favorite Easter eggs coming through here?
I'm just looking through. I think for me maybe maybe something is I guess I didn't know the name of it. Going back to the Star Wars Holiday Special, something that people kind of, I don't know if it's universal, but I think there's quite a leaning towards it that maybe the best part of that whole thing was the animated feature that introduced Boba Fett, and he has the Ambin Phase Pulse Blaster, and you see Mando with that, and in that first episode, Aaron, when he shoots it off and shoots that big old walrus-looking thing that has a hold of the Razor Crest, that is cool, and so yeah, just referencing back to the holiday special. That really stuck out to me. I really love that he has that weapon and what it can do. That, like, obviously we see that, but then later on, you and I know in episode 2, he starts. We learn what disintegrations are, right? When we see that, we see those Jawas just go poof. I mean, you and I are already laughing there. So I need me an Ambin Phase Pulse Blaster. I need one of those.
Oh, absolutely! And seeing it in action in this show, makes you truly understand why Lord Vader said, "No disintegrations," as he's pointing to Boba Fett.
Exactly.
You understand that line from Empire because of this.
It's such a neat tie-in. So neat.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Of course, we have a lot of classic uh, throwbacks, like the Death Troopers coming in from Rogue One. Um, they show up in this. A lot of creatures that we see: the Trandoshan, the Jawa, the Quarren, the Ugnaughts. Um, Really cool. I loved how I loved how Dave Filoni said, "I can't make Star Wars without a blurg in it."
Right. Exactly.
He had blurgs in Clone Wars. He had blurgs in Rebels. He's directing episodes of The Mandalorian. And guess what? Favreau gives him a blurg.
Exactly. That is funny. I know Filoni has such a neat sense of humor. Looking at our list here again, the like you said, the troop transporter, the Gonk series power droid. We see it in several episodes. Gonk, and that's fun to see. Speaking of Quarren, that Mandalorian season 2 trailer really showed us quite a few Quarren out there when Mando and Baby Yoda, the child, is on that ship crossing water. Deveronian, right? We originally see a Deveronian in the Cantina, and of course, I'm blanking on his name. He does the voice of Savage Opress. Clancy Brown. Brown plays the Deveronian in episode 6, The Prisoner, and that was really cool to see him and the horns and all that. Of course, right? IG-11 is a takeoff of IG-88. The Camtono, using that to carry the Beskar, and we were just going over from a certain point of view, The Empire Strikes Back, and there's going to be a story, with Wilro Hood. Right? Yeah, those kinds of things. Transocean speeders, the Sandcrawler, Tusken Raiders, right? Banthas, the Kubaz, right? The guy at the very beginning. That guy is, we see a Kubaz in episode 4 who, is sitting there telling stormtroopers, "Hey, Luke and Ben Kenobi and the droids are heading towards the Millennium Falcon there," and so that's a Kubaz, and mouse droids all over the place, and maybe the biggest connection that really ends the season and is going to pull us forward, but it connects to the Clone Wars, it connects to Rebels, and a number of different characters, is the Darksaber, and that was something at the end. All of us were like you were saying, say what? And so that was pretty cool.
I know I lost my mind when I watched that episode and saw the saber come out.
Yeah.
And what was crazy is I was at work when I lost my mind when that saber came out.
Yeah. Well, because all of our brains got whirling and saying, "Wait a minute, when's the last time we saw it?" Et cetera, et cetera. Dan's new book, the Star Wars book, does have, a bit of a timeline for that, for the Darksaber, and so anybody, like you said, check that out and see some of that. So there's a whole bunch of other stuff here that's tied in. Something that's interesting, like going to Tatooine. Not only did I watch episode 7 and 8 on Friday, I think it might have been last Wednesday or Thursday, I was watching episode 5, The Gunslinger, where they go back to Tatooine. And when they're in the Mos Eisley spaceport, was beyond cool. Going back to the cantina and that flipping the whole concept on its head and having droids be the ones owning it and running it. Yeah. And little side note, the one talking to Mando's asking for a job, that EV-99 is voiced by Mark Hamill. That was really cool. And then R5D4, Dave Filoni has him rolling through there. We originally saw him in him or her or whatever in episode 4, and I had that action figure as a kid, and it was neat to see Dave Filoni telling that prop artist, yeah, hey, make sure you've got some oil and stuff running down the back, where it had a bad motivator.
Mm-hmm.
So really cool to see all that on Tatooine.
Exactly, and it was a lot of fun seeing Tatooine and going through that. And you brought up Mark Hamill doing the voice. Um, I also didn't realize when I watched it. I never put two and two together till I watched this episode 2 of this final episode of The Gallery that IG-11 was voiced by Watiti.
Yeah, yeah. Very neat.
Mm-hmm. Which was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Taika, directing and doing the voice. Yeah.
He was, if he wasn't a part of lore, he's part of lore now. So, but that was awesome in and of itself. What was also cool for me too, that I enjoyed, was the fact that on Tatooine in the cantina, you had R5D4.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love the story of how he got into this episode. And it was all because of Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
And I love that story. He tells how they had this droid from a previous episode, and it was painted all different. And when they went to they threw him in the scene for Tatooine, he's looking at it, he goes, hey, can we repaint this to make it look like R5D4? And they're like, sure, why? He goes, I don't think he ever left Tatooine.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Yeah.
So they repainted him and they distressed it where his motivator would have blown and everything, and it left they had a residue from where a restraining bolt would have been and the whole 9 yards. It was a lot of fun to hear how that Easter egg made it in and of itself, which was incredible.
Yeah. Somehow R5D4 made it from the Lowen or the Owen Lars Owens, right? The homestead somewhere over into Mos Eisley to the space. So that was cool. The thing that I was going to mention, and I wanted in here because it's something that you and I didn't know, that it was so cool when I watched this, was the whole story behind that X-Wing cockpit that they used in episode 6, right? The prisoner.
Yes.
The one that, Deb and Rick and Dave, the 3 directors there, they're all in that scene. Do you want to tell it or do you want me to tell it here?
No, go right ahead.
Well, because as some of our listeners have heard you and I talk about this, it was last August, not this August, but August of 19, where you and I got to go into Galaxy's Edge with friends of ours who work at Disney. And, you go back and you look at some of the original pictures that you and I took with Jason and his wife. We're walking into Galaxy's Edge. Now we're talking Galaxy's Edge in Orlando because Filoni talks about this. As I walk in there with you, some of our first pictures are in front of the X-Wing there, Galaxy's Edge. And what Filoni says was that cockpit is in Orlando, he said. And it was used by them. They had to take some metal out of it and put some greeblies and get it set up so that they could film it. But once they were done, that cockpit was shipped to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in Orlando. And just shortly after that, you and I are standing in front of it getting our pictures taken. And I just love that is there in Galaxy's Edge there in our backyard. So that I thought that was so cool. We would have never have known that unless you had this behind the scenes documentary.
Oh, exactly. And was an incredible thing to find out too, that's how they filmed it. And they had finished it and they were going to ship it out to California, and they actually had to pull it off the shipment and unpack it to use it. which was funny. Like, oh yeah, go back that truck back up. We're going to take that, borrow that for a little bit, and uh, I love it too. How Dave was like, normally you would think it would just be sitting on the floor, but this thing was all put together. It was a full X-wing. I had to climb up and get into it. It was scary.
Yeah. And even Filoni's his added comment, he's like, "What? We don't have an X-wing cockpit here in the LA area? No." And so, fortunately, they were getting Galaxy's Edge started and could use it, and then boom, get it out here to Orlando. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought that was so neat.
Well, it is, because now you can go get your picture with a screened used X-wing at Galaxy's Edge.
Right. Yeah.
It's screen used. I mean, it is legit screen used.
Yeah.
Just sitting out in the hot Florida sun,
Yeah.
having its paint bleached.
Right.
As a
Well,
collector,
Yeah.
I'm dying on the inside knowing that that's just sitting out in the weather, in the Florida weather on top of that.
Yeah. Well, like Filoni says, and we know it here in Florida, it has to be. That's why they had it built inside. It's reinforced for, if hurricanes come through and so on and so forth. But no, yeah, you think about all the cockpits that we've seen from all the movies; those are all filmed, in different, sound stages over in England, and you and I have never, seen them on screen, but never in real life. But at least this one we've got to. But just a neat piece of Star Wars history there to have there. I think the other thing we need to talk about, which is so cool, and it involves the 501st, is, Taika Waititi said he just loved seeing the stormtroopers and how they were so surprised that they got called in. And then they talked about the dream. Filoni talked about the dream of, costumers, these in the 501st Rebel Legion, and that is to have screen-used armor or props, and all of them that were called in from up San Francisco and LA, their dream come true, and I was excited to see that. And they interviewed them in this particular episode, and it was neat to see moms and daughters in this too.
Mm-hmm.
How cool is that? And then I'm trying to remember who said it, if it was Taika or Jon Favreau or Filoni. Probably, well, they just talked about how these 501st members were just pros. They know what to do. You don't have to, Taika's directing it, and he doesn't have to waste a whole bunch of time telling them how to do this. Bam, they just did it. So that was really neat.
Yeah. No, that's true. They do exactly what to do. Dave's like, yeah, these guys are legit stormtroopers. They know how to stand. They know how to act. They're legit stormtroopers. And what I love about them using that as well, using the 501st, is they're interviewing these 501st guys, men and women, and they're like, we had no clue what we were doing. We showed up. We got it all dressed up in our armor, and we got on a bus, and they drove us to the set, and then we were pulling up in front of cameras going, holy snot.
Wow.
we're doing something completely out of the blue, and then they had to go through all the stuff. I mean, these guys get called out all the time for events, whether it be charity events or Star Wars promotional events by Lucasfilm. They weren't told they were being called in to be background troopers in The Mandalorian.
Oh, I can't imagine. I would lose it. And some of them were teary-eyed. They were just so blown away. And that's the thing about Star Wars, with Lucas and Filoni and Favreau. And really, Star Wars from the very beginning in Lucasfilm is really the involvement of fans.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really, really cool. I was listening to Coffee with Kenobi, where Dan was being interviewed by Corey Clubb and Tom Gross, and Dan brought up Rusty Miller's book, the Jedi Master Quiz Book, and that came out in 1982. And here's a young kid who's, what was he at the time, 11 years old? I think 11 years old, and Lucas was the one who gave the go ahead for that to be done. And, to allow a fan to do that, it's that far back, it's just the fan involvement, and same thing at celebrations, and it's just incredible. It's incredible. And to put the 501st, what a cool thing for them. And tell me that just doesn't engender, fans appreciating it versus no, we're going to keep all of you at bay. No, we're not going to interact with you and all that. And they're not like that. And it's so cool. But when I look at all 8 of these episodes now, Aaron, you really see that you've got not just Favreau and Filoni, but all the other people working on these things. They were fans,
Yes.
Even John Knoll said it, watching the original Star Wars, the original trilogy, just, he's the one who, when he's on a trip with his dad out to Southern California, he calls ILM. That's a time when you could actually call him, call him, and there you go. And, you just see it, throughout. You have fans doing it now. And it looks like again, that Star Wars is in the hands of the most competent fans. When you talk about Favreau and Filoni, and now with the idea of Deborah Chow overdoing Obi-Wan Kenobi, I'm super excited about that. And and I'll say this: I hope 2 things, Aaron. I hope that they do another Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian, for the 2nd season, right? And I would love for that. And I hope, fingers crossed, that they will do the same kind of docu-series for, as you mentioned, the Obi-Wan series and the Cassian Andor series, because I just love these. And I loved going through these and covering them with you, and actually doing this one leading right up to, the start of season 2. So I think it's worked out perfectly.
Absolutely. It's worked out great. And I'm glad we've gotten to go over these. And I got to ask you, looking back on these 8 episodes and everything that we have learned from this docuseries, what is your biggest takeaway from it?
Oh, no question. It would be episode 4, where they talk about the volume and how they made Star Wars live action what Lucas was always hoping for, right? It was the volume. It was that equipment, those screens that made it feasible, right? And because you and I had heard for years and years and years, Lucas wanted to do this, but he did not want to do it if it was not the quality that he'd wanted.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that episode, buddy, and I remember talking to you, I was just like, oh my gosh, that's how they did it. Unbelievable.
Yep.
And so that sticks out to me the most, that machinery, those computers, those screens are what made Star Wars live action a reality. So hands down, that is my biggest takeaway from this docuseries.
Very good. Very good.
Oh.
My biggest takeaway.
Yeah.
The 7-minute monologue from episode 2.
Ooh. Oh.
That Filoni gave on the legacy of Star Wars and meaning of it, and the impact of Lucas and what Lucas intended. To hear it from someone that sat at his feet is just. I have not been able to watch. After watching those 7 minutes, I still cannot watch the prequels the same way. I just can't, because it changed everything for me. So that's my biggest walkaway from this series is that 7 minutes monologue at the end of episode 2.
Oh, big time. I've watched that many times.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, all right. So that actually wraps up our discussion on episode 8, the final episode of Star Wars Gallery, The Mandalorian Season 1. So that closes it out. Let us know what you think of of the gallery. You can always tweet us on Twitter. Of course, you would tweet us on Twitter. Let us know through Twitter at SW Reactions Pod, or on Facebook, Star Wars Reactions, or Instagram, of course, as always, SW Reactions, or email us, show@StarWarsReactions.com. So, of course, we are now days, as we said at the beginning, days away from season 2. At the time of this recording, we're days away from the premiere of season 2. And I asked this question online earlier today, got a couple responses, and I'm going to ask you, David, what are you hoping? or let's phrase that. What are you, how did I word it online? Hold on. Let me get back to it. What are you most excited about when it comes to season 2 of The Mandalorian?
Well, I'm most excited about seeing where this goes when it comes to what the Mandalorian is tasked with. Now, I've heard people talk about a specific word. You know, when the armor says you must help, the child find his kind. You know, and so I've heard a lot of Star Wars fans talking about, does that mean a race? You know, Yoda's race, a planet with a whole bunch of Yodas on it. Which would be awesome, or is it more to find his kind, meaning Jedi, people that are Force sensitive, you know, and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see what Filoni and Favreau do with that, which route they take. Or, like, I guess I'm leaning towards probably some Jedi who have survived Order 66.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess I'm most excited to see that, you know. So there you go.
I'm just looking forward to having fun. Season 1 was so much fun and so edge of the seat. I'm looking forward to having fun again. That's all I want, is to have fun. I want a good story and to have fun. And if you're having fun, you have a good story. So that's what I'm wanting. We did get a couple of responses, like I said, when I posted the question earlier. Craig Dickinson, our friend Craig, said he's looking forward to the reveals. The reveals. There's a lot of rumors going around of what's going to be in the season. So, of course, if any of them are true, there's going to be a big reveal. So I can understand that. The reveals, reveals are always fun. And Robert, my buddy Robert, who we talked about earlier, he responded that he's looking forward to the storyline. I felt the story was fantastic in season 1. And it was. I agree with that. It was fantastic in season 1, and I'm looking forward to just as good, if not better, in season 2. So,
okay.
So looking forward to that. Like I said, from here on out, we will be going weekly. With our reviews of The Mandalorian. So as soon as you watch the episode, whether you watch it on the release Friday like I'm going to do, or whether you've taken the weekend and watch it several times like I will be doing as well, or if you just put it on a 24-hour loop, which is what I'll be doing as well. Can you tell what I'm going to be doing every weekend? Watching it on repeat. Pete and repeat. Send us your thoughts. You can email them, tweet us, Facebook, whatever. Let us know what you think of the episode, and we'll, of course, bring up your thoughts during our review episodes as well. And it's looking to be a fun season, and it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, let us know. Make sure you're joining us weekly for our reviews of each episode of The Mandalorian, Season 2. David, if somebody wants to talk Star Wars with you in the interim, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
Yeah, like you said, Twitter is the best way. My handle is what? Jedi Psych, but the actual address is at David_Motters. It's always been the same. At David_Motters. And as you and I have said in many previous episodes, every episode, if someone wants to do more of a long form kind of thing, they can always do email. And mine is david@StarWarsReactions.com.
Perfect. For me, the best way to get hold of me is definitely on Twitter at TAHarris121079 or email Aaron at StarWarsReactions.com. Hit us up. We'll talk Star Wars. We'll have fun. It's going to be a great time. Lots to look forward to. As we've said many times, there isn't a better time to be a Star Wars fan. There's so much going on, so much fun, so much new stuff, and we got the premiere of The Mandalorian Friday is just going to sprint us through the end of 2020 and get us into 2021 when we start seeing a lot more stuff, books and comics and more series, and it's just going to be you couldn't close out this year any better than with the new season of The Mandalorian.
We need some good news to finish 2020, and I agree with you. This might be the best part of 2020, right?
I will definitely agree with that. So if you're looking forward to it, we're looking forward to it. So let's close it out on a high note. So, of course, David, my friend, this has been a blast as always.
Oh, always good to talk Star Wars with you, my friend.
Always good to talk Star Wars with you, too. We thank each and every one of you for listening in. We appreciate you. We pray for you. We hope you are making it through 2020. We're almost to the end, folks. We see the finish line, and we got The Mandalorian to get us there. So let's buckle up. Let's have some fun. We appreciate you all. Thank you for joining us.
This is elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
If you'd like to share your thoughts, you can email us at show@StarWarsReactions.com for our show notes and the latest news from the Star Wars universe. Visit our website at www.StarWarsReactions.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at SWReactionsPod or on Facebook at Star Wars Reactions. If you enjoy our show, please leave a review on iTunes. This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and the respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.